Over 36,000 in, 42 out, and then 1 back in again. That is the latest national humiliation for Britain.
Something is happening across the UK tonight. Something no one saw coming. Within just 1 hour, entire supermarket shelves were stripped clean, bread gone, milk gone, canned foods vanished, as crowds pushed in with a level of urgency that has shocked the whole nation. Videos pouring in from every major city show scenes that look less like a shopping trip and more like the early moments of a national emergency. People are asking the same question. What triggered this sudden wave of panic? And if this happened in minutes, what comes next? The first signs appeared early in the morning when staff in a small supermarket in Birmingham arrived for their shift. They expected an ordinary day, but instead found customers already waiting outside in an unusually long line, silent and tense, as if they all knew something the rest of the country didn't. By the time the doors opened, the atmosphere shifted instantly. People rushed in, moving with purpose, grabbing essentials as if racing against a countdown. At first, it was strange, but manageable. Within minutes, it became something entirely different. Word began spreading online of short videos, shaky phone clips, rushed captions, shelves emptying, people fighting over bottled water. What's happening? Those clips spread across social media like wildfire, and with every share, the anxiety multiplied. What was first a local rush suddenly turned into a nationwide reaction. People didn't wait for explanations. They didn't wait for updates. They moved. Supermarkets in Manchester, Leeds and Bristol all reported the same strange pattern. Customers arriving earlier than usual, pushing carts straight to the essentials, ignoring everything else. What caught everyone off guard was not just the speed, but the coordination. It was as if the entire country had silently agreed that something was about to happen, something big. Yet no official warning had been issued, no government alert, no breaking news, nothing. Across London, the scenes became even more dramatic. Footage from a busy store in Croydon showed crowds clearing out aisles so fast that staff couldn't keep up. In less than 25 minutes, entire sections of the supermarket looked like they had been untouched for years. Shoppers weren't talking, they weren't browsing, they were acting. And their urgency sent a chilling signal across the city. Something was wrong. Emergency calls to local police rose sharply, not because of violence, but because worried citizens wanted answers. People demanded to know why others were rushing into stores with such desperation. Rumours filled the gap. Whispers of shortages, sudden restrictions, supply chain failures, or something much bigger that no one could confirm. Panic rarely starts with facts. It starts with uncertainty. And today, uncertainty was spreading faster than any official could respond to. By midday, supermarkets began limiting purchases. Signs were placed hastily on doors, 2 items per customer. But the restrictions only fueled more fear. People saw limits not as a solution, but as proof that something was collapsing behind the scenes. Even small corner shops, usually ignored during big shopping rushes, found themselves overwhelmed. A woman in Liverpool described her local shop being emptier than Christmas Eve and New Year's Day combined. In towns where nothing ever happens, residents reported scenes that felt unreal. One shop owner said he watched his entire week's supply of essentials disappear in less than 10 minutes. He stood behind the counter, stunned, helpless, wondering how something so sudden could spread so widely without a single official explanation. Across the country, it felt like everyone had connected to the same invisible signal. A shared instinct that told them to act now, ask questions later. And as the shelves continued to empty, people increasingly feared that this wasn't the peak, but only the beginning. As the shelves continued to vanish across the UK, the biggest question spread faster than the panic itself. What started all of this? People were desperate for a reason, any reason, that could explain why entire cities were acting in perfect sync. But the truth was more unsettling than any rumour circulating online. There was no single announcement, no specific event, no emergency broadcast. Instead, it was something far more dangerous: silence. Absolute unexplained silence from those who were supposed to keep the public informed. In the early afternoon, supermarket managers from multiple cities reported the same strange detail. Hours before the panic began, supply trucks were delayed without explanation. Delivery times were pushed back, routes were changed. Some drivers claimed they were told to hold position without being given any reason at all. The moment these stories leaked online, they ignited a storm of worry. People feared the worst, that a disruption was happening behind closed doors and the public wasn't being warned. At the same time, several major news outlets released vague statements about temporary supply issues and unexpected logistics challenges, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Instead of calming people down, the half answers only intensified the fear. Citizens began to suspect that the media knew something, but wasn't telling the full truth. And once that seed of doubt was planted, nothing could stop the panic from growing. Inside homes, living rooms and workplaces, conversations shifted from confusion to alarm. People watched videos of empty aisles, crowds rushing to grab whatever was left, and managers trying and failing to control the chaos. Group chats buzzed with warnings. Families urged each other to stock up just in case. Many didn't know what they were preparing for, but they knew they didn't want to be caught unprepared. By late afternoon, supermarkets were no longer just busy. They were unable to function. Staff were overwhelmed, trying to restock shelves that were emptied again within minutes. Security guards attempted to calm customers, but the tension in the air was too strong. Every sound, every rumour, every whispered conversation could spark another wave of fear. No one wanted to be the last person without supplies if the situation escalated. Authorities finally issued a short statement urging the public to remain calm. But their message arrived too late. People had already witnessed the reality with their own eyes. They saw the videos, the crowds, the disappearing essentials, and nothing creates panic more effectively than visual proof of scarcity. When the government insists that everything is under control while citizens see empty shelves across the whole country, trust collapses instantly. Online, theories turned into warnings, warnings turned into alerts, and alerts turned into full-blown predictions of what might come next. Some claimed it was an economic crisis. Others believed it was a massive supply chain breakdown. A few even warned of an imminent national announcement that would change everything, whether fact or fiction. Every theory added more fuel to the fire. As evening approached, the panic reached its peak. People who had stayed calm earlier began questioning their own judgment. Should they go out and buy supplies too? What if tomorrow everything was gone? What if they were the only ones unprepared? Logic faded, replaced by instinct, and instinct told them one thing: act now or regret it later. Supermarkets in nearly every region reported that they had never seen anything like this. Not during holidays, not during storms, not even during past crises. This was different. This was coordinated without anyone planning it. The panic had taken on a life of its own, spreading from city to city like a wave nobody could control. And just when it felt like the situation couldn't escalate any further, new reports arrived that made the public even more uneasy. Deliveries scheduled for the night were being cancelled nationwide. No one could confirm why. No one could explain who made the call. But one thing was clear: something had changed behind the scenes. And the silence around it was louder than any alarm. The country was no longer just reacting to fear. It was reacting to the unknown, the most dangerous force of all. As night fell across the UK, the panic that had begun in the morning transformed into something much deeper and far more unsettling. The empty shelves were no longer just a supply issue. They had become a symbol of national uncertainty. Households everywhere felt the same tension in the air, the same unease settling over every living room, kitchen and supermarket car park. Families who managed to gather a few essentials felt relieved for a moment, until they checked their phones again and saw that the situation was growing worse by the minute. Social media turned into a battlefield of information. Live streams showed people leaving stores with bags that looked lighter than usual, not because they bought less, but because there was less to buy. Others posted videos of late-night customers staring at empty fridges and barren shelves, trying to process what they were seeing. The comment sections exploded with anger, fear, and demands for answers. But no one, not the stores, not officials, not even journalists, seemed to have a clear explanation. People began turning against each other, not with violence, but with suspicion. Some accused others of panic buying and creating the crisis. Others responded by saying they had no choice because everyone else was doing it. The blame bounced back and forth, creating a quiet kind of chaos, the kind that doesn't make loud noise but leaves a heavy pressure on everyone's chest. Even those who normally avoided drama or news felt the need to know what was coming next. In many areas, local shops shut their doors earlier than planned. Not because they wanted to, but because they had nothing left to sell. Some owners posted handwritten signs apologising to customers, promising to restock as soon as deliveries arrived. But those promises felt empty because the real question wasn't about how fast shops could restock. It was whether new stock would even arrive at all. The cancelled deliveries remained the shadow no one wanted to look at directly. As the night deepened, a strange restlessness took over the streets. Cars moved quickly, as if everyone was in a hurry to get home. Even the busiest parts of major cities looked unusually quiet. It was the kind of quiet that doesn't bring peace, the kind that makes people glance over their shoulder. A quiet created not by calm, but by worry. In households across the country, people gathered around televisions, expecting a major announcement. Many assumed the government had to speak soon, but the official silence continued, and the longer it stretched, the more the public interpreted it as a sign of something being hidden. People don't fear the truth as much as they fear the absence of it. And tonight, that absence felt suffocating. Online experts tried to explain the situation, but none of their answers felt convincing. Economic analysts blamed global pressures. Logistics specialists pointed to system failures. Political commentators hinted at internal disagreements. Every explanation seemed possible, and yet none of them matched the speed and scale of the panic that had erupted earlier. Something about it all felt too sudden, too synchronized, too unusual. The lack of clarity created a new kind of fear. Twist or so, the fear of what tomorrow would look like. Parents wondered if they should wake up earlier than usual to try again at local stores. Students worried about rising prices. Elderly people felt anxious about whether their usual supplies would remain available. No one went to bed feeling fully secure. It felt like the entire country was waiting for a moment that hadn't arrived yet, a moment that everyone sensed was coming. In some areas, small groups gathered outside shops, hoping new stock might arrive overnight. They talked quietly, sharing rumours, speculation and concerns. Some said they heard this kind of behaviour only happens before big announcements. Others said they remembered similar energy during past crises, the silent tension before something major hits. Whether true or not, those conversations spread the nervousness even further. By midnight, the UK wasn't just experiencing panic buying, it was experiencing a national psychological shift. Trust had cracked, routine had been shaken, and the environment felt charged with anticipation. Something had disrupted the normal rhythm of the country, and people could feel it. Even if they couldn't articulate it, the nation stood on the edge of something unclear, waiting for answers that had still not arrived.